really saw this person who was Rabbi Nachman as a very shady guy. This is what Rabbi Nachman began to go through on his journey to Eretz Yisrael. So they said, forget the shamus, let's go to Rabbi Nachman. Well, let's go to this guy. Let's go to this young, skinny, frail, mysterious guy and ask him, what's up, what's the story? We'll ask him where he's from, where is he from, but he didn't want to reveal anything. And they tried to then speak in learning, and they saw they're not getting anywhere like that. And when they started trying to get him in Torah, they realized he's outsmarting them on every question they're asking, which was again a big pella. But they felt like he's just manipulating them mentally, and it just got to them even more, till they just they kept on saying, we're giving up now, but they had in them, they need to find out who this guy is. So the problem was, every time Rabbi Nachman appeared as a different person. Like one day they asked him if he's a Kohen, and he said yes. Then the next day at Kriyas HaTorah, they called him up for Shlishi, and he accepted the Aliyah, that he wasn't a Kohen. So they said to him, excuse me, you told us yesterday you're a Kohen, but today you got Shlishi Aliyah, right? He said, well, a Kohen is the Midah of Chesed, and Yisrael is a different Midah, and Baruch Hashem, I have both of those Midos inside of me, meaning these were the things that were happening the whole time. It drove them crazy. And they started hating him, and they were starting to mevaze him, to disgrace him and humiliate him. And Rabbi Nachman didn't stop from what he was doing, because he knew that this, as we'll see in a second, this meant that he was on his way to really get to Eretz Yisrael. Why do you have to know everything? Isn't it just beautiful that brothers are sitting together right now? Rabbi Nachman says, "Afal pi shelo yeda echad ikar kavanat chavero." Even if the brothers that are dwelling together don't know exactly the kavana that's with every other person that they're sitting with, isn't that thing on its own just a valuable, beautiful thing about life? I don't know how they took that, but that's what Rabbi Nachman said. I don't know how they took it. And he continues to suffer so much. And he kept on, again, this identity change. He kept on saying, once he said he was from Italy, then he said he was from the Himalayan mountains, meaning he kept on saying different places nonstop. One time he spoke to them, and it sounded as if he was describing himself as the Kamarna Rebbe. And the whole story about that kesher, but as he was talking about the Kamarna Rebbe, describing that he was like the son of him, he started like cursing the Kamarna Rebbe. So they stopped and they said, wait, isn't he your father? And he walked away, and then they realized, this guy's driving us nuts. But that was really something they really was irking with them. And he kept on saying different names of who he was, but they knew the son of the Kamarna Rebbe's name was Yeshaya. So they wanted to check to see, when you call someone by their name, they naturally move, right? They actually matim et atzmam. So they said, Yeshaya. And he right away showed up, and like right away he came and showed up, and they said to him, oh, you actually are the son of the Kamarna Rebbe. And he looks at them and he says, no, I'm really not. This was happening nonstop. So Reb Nosson says, "Kol ma she'avar b'inyan ze yiktzeru hamon yiriyot lesaper." There's not enough ink in the world to describe what really took place on this journey. But all I could tell you is that sometimes he would wake these people up while they were sleeping and started talking to them about different inyanim, and that really drove them crazy as well, till they reached the place that they would just sit there and curse this guy. They would curse out Rabbi Nachman. They were so sick of him. And they started to fight with him, and they just, Pashut, kept on trying to get him out of their sight because he drove them crazy. But Reb Nosson says, you have to understand, Klal hadavar hu asa bechavana. He did all this by purpose. V'hiniach atzmo levazot bechol minei bizyonos. And he bechavana made himself suffer all these different mockeries and bizyonos that he had to go through. And he told his Talmud that was with him, he says, understand something. Elu habizyonos yeli tova gdola bahalicha ubachazara. what I'm experiencing right now will provide a tremendous help and good for me while I go to Eretz Yisrael and while I attempt to travel back home. This will more or less pave the path that'll be available for me to get to Eretz Yisrael and to go back from Eretz Yisrael back home. Is this the way that someone? Is this the only way that someone's able to achieve higher spiritual great achievements? Like, is this the only way? So some in Breslov have acted like this, where they invite upon themselves hashpalot, humiliations. It's interesting. They used to do this in other Musserdiki yeshivas, like in, what was the story in Slobodka, I think? Well, there's many stories where in order to really mitaher the midos, you have to go through real big humiliation. So we know life provides that on its own, quite often. But sometimes when you do it bedavka, it invites it even greater. But Rebbe Nachman's whole energy and behavior is what's known in Breslov as hatzorech bekatnus, the need sometimes to voluntarily ki'ilu, like, go down, make yourself small, make yourself like a child, like you're meshugana. בדרכו אל ארץ ישראל שעה רבי נחמן בעיר איסטנבול, ובכל אותם הימים התנהג רבי נחמן בצורה משונה מאוד, acting strange, ועשה כל מיני מעשי קטנוס. He would act like a child. And when you go to the marketplace, imagine him hopping or skipping. Right? You don't know exactly. But, like it says in the Midrash, ahava mekalkelet et ashura, love, basically, when you love someone, they can act meshuga. There's a place in your heart for them. So this Reb Zev is sitting there, he's like, I know you, and I know this isn't you, this is strange, but my love for you will not end, and that's it. Every meal on Shabbos, when they're davening, Rabbi Nachman's eating. I'm sure this Reb Zev at a certain point realized, don't look too deep over here, this is a tzaddik yesod olam, there's something going on here I can't understand. His whole journey was filled with this behavior. Achar kach, Ramaz Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman alluded to the fact that in those days, כי בימים שהיה באיסטנבול ריחפה מעליו סכנה גדולה, עד שהיה סבור שלא יצא עוד מעיר זו, אלא ימות בה. Rabbi Nachman sensed there was such a great danger for him, so much so that he was certain that he's never going to leave this city. He's never going to get out of here. Not only will he not reach Eretz Yisrael, he'll never see his family again, and he's going to die right there. That's what was clear to him. Childlike behavior, that it became his nature to act like a child. עד שכאשר בא לארץ ישראל, רוצה היה להשליך מעליו התנהגות זו, והיה קשה עליו הדבר מאוד. So much so that when he reached Eretz Yisrael, the whole persona, you bring it home with you, you like this with other people. Rabbi Nachman wasn't standing still for a second. אלא היה עולה ממדרגה אל מדרגה. That's true about his whole life. He's in a constant state of ascending, always. Even if it looks like it's a nefila, Rabbi Nachman's the master of teaching you that's just a preparation for a stronger aliyah. You know, I have this great memory. One time I performed in a Reform temple in Irvine, California. It was a beautiful Saturday night. I had a concert there. Let me give them Rabbi Nachman, the little that I understand. So this is like 25 years ago. And I like to think I'm still young, but 25 years ago I was very, very young, just starting to do these things. So I said, friends, I would love you all to please stand up. The whole, these, this chevra, they all got up, they all stood up. I'm like, okay, I would like you all to jump right now without bending your knees. Just jump without bending your knees. So they all tried and they saw you could barely move, right? I say, I would like you all now to bend your knees, like go down and then jump. So they did, and then they all jumped high. I said, thank you, please sit down. You've just experienced one of the greatest fundamental teachings of a great Hasidic master who explained that in life there is no other way sometimes of getting higher to the next level without first descending before that. And it stuck with me, and then it's so much easier said than done, those, because when you're mamish in it and someone comes and tells you, when you're mamish in the dumps and someone comes and tells you, Reb Nachman said, you want to smack them. You don't want to hear that. But it is the truth. We see it all the time. The real ones are the ones that while they're suffering so much and they're bending their knees, they know I'm about to jump much, much higher. This is basically the deepest depths. This is the deepest depths. Now this teaching is this common theme we see in Reb Nachman's journey towards Eretz Yisrael. Yemot HaMashiach, the days of Mashiach, במובנם הפשוט והבסיסי, and the most basic way of understanding them, הם המצב האידיאלי של העולם. Do you know what that word means in Hebrew? Ideali? It'll be the most idealistic way of the world. Olam nachon, olam metukan, olam shebo sholtim hatov vehaemet, where good and truth will govern over the world that we're living in. That's the world of Mashiach. Let's admit it. Today, there's evil that conquers good. We see this all over the world. I think he's going to touch upon exactly what you just said right now, yeah. Which is an important distinction, because I think that part of the fear of the unknown is that
you're going to force me.
Exactly. Which is so unnatural, and everything he's speaking about is that the world of Mashiach is actually the most natural. It's the most natural lifestyle you could think of. Most natural. Now, if I ask you the following question, when do you feel most natural in your life? When do you feel like you're the most yourself?
When you're alone. No, with my kids.
Could be. With your kids. The most natural self. Like, when do you feel that appears? Think about it. And then you'll probably get a bit of a taste of what's to come.
Really truly believe.
For sure. Mikabel. And yet, tchusha, but what's so interesting here is that it kind of brings over this general sense that kach haya v'kach yeh v'lo yitachen acheret. It is what it is. It's not what it's not. Take it or leave it. ברגע שבו תתגלה בעולם האמת האלוקית, the moment that the godly truth will be revealed in the world, יתהפך העולם בן רגע. The world will flip over in a second. But the truth is שברגע שיפתח להם צוהר אל האור, but the truth is the moment that there's a window, צוהר אל האור, there's a window that starts bringing in real light. So he says, כהרף עין, with a blink of an eye, yashlichu et kol avizarei hachoshech, will get rid of all of our techniques. V'yavinu she'en lo tzorech bahem, and we'll see we don't need this anymore. Hem af yitpalu, ech yachyu lichyot ad achshav b'chashecha. How could we have been living like this right now in such darkness? That'll be the awakening when people Yidden start to say, how could it be that we allow ourselves to live like this for so long? And then people will be like, how on earth did we agree to continue living the way we did for so long? Ech ze yachol liot? How could it be? Everything could be happening out there in the world. Mamash like we see the hefech of what looks like Mashiach is, but in my own world, none of that's touching it. I'm living a completely different experience than what looks like is happening in the world. And that comes from attuning myself more with Pnimius HaTorah, with soul work, with an era of soul learning, and not necessarily knowledge-based learning. And that's the shift that we've entered into already right now. And it's very clear that for the excitement of the next generation, that's where we're heading. En ma la'asot. So I think that it makes, it could seem like it makes life that much more frustrating because what's happening inside of you is not mirrored with what you see on the outside. But on the contrary, you actually feel much more aligned and attuned with yourself, with your real, true self. And I believe, B'emunah Shlema, that each and every one of us, deep down inside, our neshamas want this more than anything else in the world. More than anything in the world. This is what we want. We don't want something else. We just have to jump more and more into learning Pnimiyus HaTorah. There is no other way. When I say Pnimiyus HaTorah, there's Ein Ladavar Sof today. There's access to everything.
An evil prophet ascends a mountain to place a curse on the nation, to nip it in the bud. But Hashem recognizes the dead, reassigning Bilam as the of the days. Ironically, little sorcerer foretell of a time of absolute goodness, the ultimate of the Jewish star shooting Yaakov flames. Who is this star that visioned? The Rambam the star as Bilam Melech HaMoshiach. The Gemara interprets the star to be every single Jew. One of the most oft-quoted teachings of the Baal Shem Tov from the Rebbe is the following explanation brought in Maor Enayim.
Schaas mit so dorch kecher mit Janke. Pasten mal das meint Moshiach. Dann noch steht in Brach ist Babel wie Jerusalem. Aber Schaas gehol dorch kecher mit Janke hat gesagt, dass verbunden mit der Messias von Ayid. Nicht achillig was für Ayid ist. Ida Sayid steht auf dem dorch kecher mit Janke, was sie sagt nicht mehr von Gemorre. Und der Meure hinein, dass mir weil und tauscht das auf, a jeder Ried hat in sich, a nichts von Moshiach, wie Moshiach hat in sich, und jeder Ried, was der Pfarrer kann schon mal klar ist, und ein Beten von sie, dass der Linie von Yechide.
Every soul of the Moshiach edifice that they are responsible for has a spark of Moshiach within. How would you change your attitude today if you acknowledged that the spark of the ultimate Redeemer, so longed for thousands of years, resides, waiting in your own potential?
God is going to make another King David. Moshiach is going to be Kesar. Means unusual birth. The accomplishment and the changes was ervet oiftan, which Mashiach is going to make in the world. The ikar chirush from Mashiach, the main accomplishment, the novelty of Mashiach, will be nit in their avoda, not in the service of the Jewish people in Torah and the commandments. That's not the main thing. Even though it's true, Mashiach will accomplish in them a shlemus, a completion, umuchletes. Jewish people will really, true, the Jewish people will really serve God with a whole heart. Like we just finished saying, with all of our hearts, with all of our souls, with all of our might. It says, kamitzas sanecha, that will be doing the sacrifices and all the commandments exactly the way God wants. All the Jews will be like tzaddikim. Like we just finished learning. He'll elevate all of them. That we can do Torah and the commandments easily. There won't be any disturbances. But the main accomplishment of Mashiach will be in the world. Doing Torah and the commandments, that already was done before. We did commandments. He'll fix up all of the world, and all of the non-Jews. Yetaken et ha'olam, that the whole entire world, kulo, la'avod et Hashem, to serve God, biyachad, together. Novelty of Mashiach, he's going to accomplish something that no one ever accomplished. That all of the nations in the world will worship the creator of the world.
If somebody ever asks you, what is the tachlis or the purpose of Judaism, what would you answer? To do mitzvahs? Of course not. Because the real tachlis of Judaism is to purify the physical universe. The way it happens is through a mitzvah. You see, a mitzvah is an instrument, it's a tool that does it. And therefore the real purpose of Judaism is called tikkun, to rectify creation, to change it back into what it was. That's the whole game plan. Of course, it's far more than that, but that's the fundamental understanding of what has to happen.
And 33 years ago, the Rebbe comes and he says, Yidden, wake up, the time of the redemption has arrived.